Hey boys and girls, we're going to read a book about communication today. The author has one name. He's the author and the illustrator. So he does the story and the pictures, and he only has one name, Aliki. And this book is called Communication. Communication is telling and listening, and communication is something that grown-ups even, I'm sorry my nails look so beautiful. Communication is something that even grown-ups still learn about. It's something that's very important. It's a way to discuss your feelings. It's a way to discuss what's going on in your brain. So there's all kinds of ways to communicate, and we're going to talk about that today. So here we have the uppercase alphabet, which we use to make words when we talk. Here's the sign language alphabet, which you're going to learn about later today. The Braille alphabet, which I mentioned yesterday when we were talking about how people who can't see can read. And there's the lowercase alphabet, so the big capital letters and the lowercase letters. Here you go. Communication. This book is dedicated for all the tellers and the listeners of the world. Communication. Communication is a long word. Here it is. So he's looking it up in the dictionary. Communication is sharing knowledge. It's telling news. It is expressing feelings and being heard. Being heard is a big part of communication too. So she's talking, or she's showing her communication, expressing her feelings, and he says, I know what you mean. It takes two to communicate. It can be more than two, actually. But it takes at least two to communicate. I have something to tell you. Remember yesterday when you grabbed that pencil out of my hand? No. So she doesn't remember doing that. So it takes one to say it, one to listen. So he's saying and she's listening. Well, I have to tell you, I don't like it when you grab. Just ask. Oh, I didn't know. So now I said it. I'm glad you did. Next time I'll be more careful. So one can say it, one can listen, and one can respond. And then that little bird is saying, you'll both be glad you did. So sometimes if you say the things that you're feeling, other people may not even know it's bothering you. That little girl had no idea. She didn't even remember taking the pencil out of his hand. But it was really bothering him. It bothered him till the whole next day. But now that they talked about it, they can both feel better about it. We communicate through language. We speak words, we listen to words, we write words, we read words. We all need to express ourselves. Right. But before babies learn to speak words, they communicate in other ways. Because remember when you were a baby, I don't know if you can remember being a baby, but you didn't just start talking all of a sudden. You communicated in other ways. Let's see. Look at this picture. What do you think that baby is trying to say? The daddy is saying, oh, I don't think you like this. And that baby is saying, spinach is horrible, but I don't know how to tell you yet. So, actually, I like spinach, but this baby thinks spinach is horrible. And they don't like it, so they spit it out. Because they don't have any other way to say, I don't like it. And then this little baby saying, I want hunky monkey, but I can't say it. So you can watch the baby's body language. This baby seems to be reaching for it. Is this the one you want? So he knows that the baby wants something. He just doesn't know which one. So he's trying to read his body language. If we look and listen, we can understand. I'm sleepy, but I can't explain it. I'll bet you're sleepy. Understood babies sleep happily, even little baby animals. There are other ways. Before early people learned to write, they communicated through pictures. So a long time ago, they drew pictures in caves or on rocks, and that's how they kind of kept track over what was happening in the world and what was happening in their lives. They didn't have the computer or telephones or things like that. Even today we use signs and symbols to communicate. Yeah, we use all kinds of things. This traffic light lets us know when we need to stop or when we need to go. This one means, oh, okay, well, I guess I need to throw trash in the trash can. Definitely, not just out in the grass or on the road. This one, if you're at the bathroom and you need to know which one to go in, the boys, the males are going to go there, and the females, the girls, will go in that one. Okay? We communicate without words. We touch, hug, and kiss. That's such a great way to show someone that you love them, isn't it? To give them a hug. We applaud. Applaud means clapping your hands. So if something makes you happy or someone does a good job with something, you might clap for them. We stamp, push, pull, hit, and kick. Those are not the best ways to communicate, but when might we communicate like that? How would we be feeling if we were stomping or stamping or kicking or hitting? Maybe when we're angry, right? But that's not always the best way to handle things. If we can't speak someone's language, we use body language. So we talked about that just a second ago with the babies. What do you think this picture means? Right. He's saying, I'm cold. She's trying to say, shh. Whew. He's hot. What do you think this one's saying? Hey, do you want some? Artists communicate through pictures, dancers through dance, musicians through music, writers and poets through words. Here are some other ways we can communicate. Letters, newspapers, books, magazines, telephone, codes, radio, and television. Codes are sometimes they use what's called Morse code. So go beep, 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 and that is a code to let people know, hey, I might need help. If you've ever heard of SOS, that's what that is. Laughter and crying are means of communication. Laughter is contagious. If you hear someone laugh, it makes you want to laugh too. He makes me want to cry. Whatever the reasons, people understand the meaning of laughter and crying. Wherever you are in the world, if someone's crying, it means they're either hurt on their body or they're hurt in their heart. Something is sad to them. If someone is laughing, no matter where you are in the world, laughing means someone's very happy and something is funny. Many people who are deaf communicate through sign language, and they read lips. We're going to learn about that more later. We talked about this. People who are blind read Braille with their fingers. So there it is, that lifted up paper like we talked about. Animals communicate too. Meow. What do you think that cat's trying to say at the empty food bowl? I'm hungry. And then the dog's roof, roof, and his tail is wagging. He's saying, welcome home. I think that little boy got the ball up in the tree, but that bird is saying, you're too close. Stay away from my babies. This is fun. So animals communicate too. We can watch their ears and their tails. Like animals even have body language. So they can make noises and they even use body language. But human beings are the great communicators. I phoned to tell you something. I'm listening. And we all need someone to tell. Here's Monday. Jimmy has had a sour face for days. He's not saying that, but he's thinking it. This is a thought bubble. So he's worried about his friend. Tuesday. Something is still the matter. Look at Jimmy. He's still upset. Wednesday. Maybe I'll ask him tomorrow. Thursday. Jimmy, is something wrong? No. Yes, there is. I can tell. And he's just listening. I don't want to talk about it. But I don't want to talk about it. So whatever is bothering Jimmy is really bothering him, isn't it? And that little bird is saying, go on, Jimmy. Don't be uncommunicative. That means don't just not talk about it. But Jimmy, you have to talk about it. If you don't, do you know what can happen? You get a headache. You get a stomach ache. You can't think of anything else. And sometimes that's true, boys and girls. Sometimes if something is really bothering you, it makes your body not feel good either. That happens sometimes to lots of kids I know. They get a tummy ache or they don't feel good and they don't know why, but something's bothering them. Whatever it is grows and grows inside of you. It gets bigger than it is. If you don't communicate, it causes pain and misery and suffering around you. It causes misunderstanding and anger. It causes pent-up emotions. That's how wars start. So now he's all upset and Jimmy's like, huh? But it is true. If you have something that's bothering you, tell a grown-up that you trust. Whether it's your mommy or your daddy or your grandparents or whoever you live with, that if something is bothering you, talk to them about it and they can help you understand. You asked for it, so tell me, Jimmy, we don't want a war. So he's being silly now. Well, remember last week the teacher asked us who was the first president of the United States? I knew the answer. I raised my hand and you blurted out George Washington. So the teacher said, who's the first president? And Jimmy knew, and he was so excited to tell. But he blurted. And the teacher said, good, Billy. And you hadn't even raised your hand. That's why I feel so rotten if you know. Oh, I'm really sorry, Jimmy. I didn't know. Well, now you do. It's off my chest and I feel better. So sometimes we might say something or do something that bother other people and we don't even mean to. And that's what happened there. He got excited and he blurted out, which wasn't the right thing to do. But it really hurt Jimmy's feelings. If someone says, oh, I got that off my chest, then that means it's kind of a saying for, well, something was bothering me and I can feel better about it now because I've said something. Can we still be friends? Yes, if you promise to raise your hand. I promise. I'll bet you don't know who was the 16th president of the United States. Now raise your hand. Look at the bird. Abraham Lincoln. So if you talk about things, you can work them out. Some things are easy to communicate. Hi, Grandma, you should have seen what happened in school today. Our bunny escaped and nobody could find her anywhere. And this little turtle is saying, Grandma, must like to hear from Nikki too. Some things are hard to say. I'm too shy to say it. Some children are very shy. That's why even if I ask you to do like a video or a song or something like that on Dojo, I'm glad that you're trying for me. That's all I want you to do, even if you're really shy. If we were all here together, I would want you to do the same thing. But sometimes I know it can be hard, and I understand that. I don't like to hurt people's feelings. Sometimes we don't say things because we're scared of hurting people's feelings. And we don't want to hurt people's feelings on purpose, but sometimes it's good to say something. Like if they have food on their face, you could say, oh, you've got a little bit of food on your face. And you might be worried that they're going to be mad, but most of the time they appreciate it. I can't find the words. That means you're trying to say something, but you don't know exactly how to say it. I'm afraid to tell. Looks like that got broken. He's very afraid to tell, but it would probably make him feel a whole lot better if he tells the truth and is honest about it. He can say, I did not mean to. I broke this. Nobody would understand. Sometimes everybody feels that way, like, oh, you wouldn't understand. But you know what? You'd be surprised. Even if we don't always understand everything that we say to each other, we can try. And listening is so important. I'm embarrassed. Sometimes things happen that we get embarrassed and we don't want to talk about it. And that's okay. But again, if you can talk to your grown-up that you love and trust, then that will make you feel better. My little girl and I talk about things that we both get embarrassed about. And most of the time, we're embarrassed to talk about those things, but when we do, then we end up laughing and giggling because stuff is funny sometimes. Maybe it will go away. Well, it might. Sometimes when you need to talk about things, maybe it'll go away. But it is good if you can find your grown-up or find a friend that you love and care about, and you can tell them. He won't listen. That's a hard feeling when you feel like people won't listen to you. And sometimes people try to be good listeners, but they're not good listeners. We all have somebody like that in our lives, and it's okay. They're trying. They just might not know how yet. So you can show them how you can be a good listener, and maybe that will help them. So some things are hard to say, but it's a relief when you say them. That means it feels better when you say them. So she's saying, I'm glad I could tell you. I'm happy you understand. I had to say it. I thought you'd be angry. Thank you for listening. I feel lots better. Telling made it go away. So she was worried that what she would say would just go away. But sometimes if you talk to that person that you care about, then it makes whatever worries you're having go away. I didn't think you'd listen. Feelings are hard to communicate. Here's one way you can talk about feelings. My diary. Before you know it, boys and girls, you're going to know how to start writing. And even now, if you want to try to do this at your house, you could just draw pictures until you learn how to write the words with it. So a diary is something that's just for you. It's not anyone else's business, but it's a place where you can express your feelings. You can draw or you can write them down. So this little girl is writing, sometimes when a feeling is fresh, it's hard to explain it to someone else. So I communicate with myself. I write it in my diary. It helps me understand what is troubling me. After that, I feel better. Writing makes things clear. It makes it easier to explain to someone else. Sometimes just writing it down makes the hurt go away. But my diary is fun and news too. And for remembering. It's good practice writing too. So it's kind of neat. You can look back years and years later, or months later, or days later, and say, I remember when that was happening. Here we go. Are you listening? I'll meet you outside of Marty's at 3 o'clock. Okay. There's Marty's. It's almost 3 o'clock. There's Marty's. It's after 3 o'clock. At last. Hi, Loretta. Where have you been? I have been waiting since 3 o'clock. Oh, sorry, I thought you said 3:45. Well, nobody's perfect. I'd better buy an eraser. Bad communication. Sometimes if you have bad communication, other people can get their feelings hurt, or they might have to wait, or all kinds of things can happen. But if both people really try to listen to each other, then that helps. Feedback. I need feedback. When you tell somebody something, it's nice to have a response. You're right. There's nothing worse than talking to a brick wall. Some people are like that. Otherwise, you feel lonely, as if nobody cares. Jack never gives me any feedback. I say, hi, Jack, it's a great day. And he acts as if he didn't hear. My dad does that sometimes. Yesterday, I wanted to tell him about swimming class, but he was buried in his newspaper. Yeah, it's nice to share things. For instance, you tell me and I'll tell you, and then we'll know how the other feels. Have you ever read Treasure Island? It's the greatest book, but scary. 15 men on a dead man's chest. Yo ho ho, and a bottle of rum. Ugh. Remember when Jim Hawkins hides from Long John Silver in the apple barrel? I had to get way under the covers. I was so scared. But if you want to laugh, remember Stuart Little, how he got caught up in the window shade and all his adventures driving around the countryside. Ha ha. Books are great, and it's fun to share. And it's fun when you can share them too. Oh, by the way, next week we're driving up to Cauchy Falls. I'll tell you all about it. Everybody needs some RSVP. That means response, s'il vous plaît. That's French for feedback. So that means if you say something or do something, you might like to hear back about it. When I check your dojo attendance, a lot of the times I write back a message to you. And I don't know if you know that or not. If your grown-ups have not been reading what I write back, please ask them to read it to you, because sometimes I talk about how proud I am of you, or I say how much I like something that you did. Thank you for telling me. Now I understand how you feel. I didn't know. I'll remember next time. It hurts, but I'm glad you could tell me. It's worse not to tell. You're still my friend. And this is about pen pals. So now with technology, we can FaceTime, we can Zoom. There's all kinds of ways we can talk. But a long time ago, if someone moved away, they had to write letters to each other. And that's what called pen pals. I'll miss you. Don't forget to write. At first I was lonely, but now camp is fun. I wove a basket and, oh, thanks again for the stationery. Please write. Mail! She got 5 letters. Now that's communication. But if you don't get an answer, it's not. So if someone writes you, it's nice to write back. There is always a way to communicate. What happened? Nothing. Tell me. I can't. Say it. I don't know how. Oh, and look, I think he's feeling embarrassed. And then everyone began to laugh. Oh, you must have felt horrible. So look, what are they using to communicate? Puppets and toys. You can do that. If you have something that you're nervous to talk to someone about, you can use a puppet or a toy. So, whew, what a relief. So he feels better once he could talk to a grown-up. Communicating is letting someone else say something too. And then she said, well, and then he went, I think, but that reminds me, and they are, when, and next year, but last year, I did this, and I almost forgot. Do you think she's feeling heard? Who's doing all the talking? They're not giving her a chance to speak, are they? And it was, excuse me, there's the doorbell. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, my ears. Some people think only they have something to say, even if you think you're fascinating. It's good to listen to. Sometimes a book can communicate your feelings for you. And little squirrel missed his mommy, just like me. If you don't communicate, you may never know. Wow, just what I've always wanted. Dare I ask? So he's walking by. He's like, ask him, ask him. Oh, now I'll never know. I think he wants to know where that hat came from. Wait! Hi, excuse me. Can you tell me where you got your great cap? Over at Child's Play. They have lots more. Thanks. Whew, that was easy. Rachel lets it all hang out. Hi, Rachel. So it's you. What's wrong? You know you took the last donut, and Ellen and Aaron never got one. Well, I was hungry. You take the last one every time. I do not. Yes, you do. You did it at Jeff's party. I wasn't even there. Yes, you were, and there's something else. All right, Rachel, I wasn't going to tell you, but you spilled paint on Jason's shirt, and his mother couldn't wash it out. You always copy my answers. That's cheating. Why can't you be careful, Alexa? You're so clumsy. Girls, what's going on? We're communicating. Ha. Well, that's one way to do it. That's not the best way to communicate, is it? To fight? Happy birthday. She made it herself. To my best friend. You're my best friend, too. Oh, mush. That's something nice to communicate. Did you hear Catherine's sister Caroline fell off her bike and sprained her wrist? So this is careful. You got to be careful with this. She's telling him something. Catherine's sister Caroline. fell off her bike and sprained her wrist. Now this little boy. Catherine and Caroline were going too fast, and Caroline fell and broke her arm. Now that's not what happened. Let's see how it changes. Then this person says, someone pushed Catherine off her bike, and she broke her arm and leg. Uh-oh. They've heard that. Bob's sisters, Caroline and Catherine, had a terrible accident. You see how it's changing? And poor Bob and his brother Matthew went to visit them in the hospital, and a car came along. You know Matthew? Well, his brothers and sisters are in the hospital, and all 4 bikes went flying in the air. That's not the way I heard it. If you're going to say it, at least get it right. This is called gossip. This is how things happen when you talk about other people. And then sometimes it gets changed and it gets changed, and people make it bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's just not the way things happen. So be very careful. And now I'll sing you a song, and I'll tell you a story and a poem. Then I'll announce the latest news, and I'll answer your questions. Then, hey, where are you? Where is everybody? I need to do it with somebody. Communication is the back and forth of telling and listening and responding, so you know you're not alone. Oh, there you are. Now listen and tell me what you think. Ready? Ready. So there we go. Can you remember what that's called? Braille. And this is called sign language. Good job, boys and girls. I know that was a long story, but I bet you learned a lot from it. I'm proud of you.